Sam. I'm the co-founder of Kingdom Impact Lab, and in this video I want to talk to you about something that I struggled with for a long time in business. Years, maybe even a decade, if I'm being honest. And I know for a fact it's something that other people struggle with as well. And that is that you don't have clarity over the goals or the vision that you want to achieve. And as a result, that leads to chaos in your life and then spinning in circles. So before I start, I just want to explain the purpose of these videos. The purpose of these early videos in particular is I want to be able to steward my gift of learning, my passion for learning, and my insatiable curiosity for truth. Something I'm happy to do 24/7, and I want to be able to steward this gift as a way to teach others and to help others that have gone through a similar situation as I have. So let's start off with the chaos of a vague vision. So Jordan Peterson, this is where I learned it from. I went through his little mini series on vision, which is on the Daily Wire Plus. And the takeaway lessons here is that most people don't exactly have a vision. They don't know where they want to go in life, which then naturally, if you don't have a solid anchor, a solid, tangible representation of what you want to achieve in life, what you want to achieve today even, it doesn't have to be big picture, it could be really small picture. If you don't have a tangible idea of what it is, it's impossible to make progress towards it. And therefore you are subjected to the natural whims, your emotions, which are going to pull you in all directions, your inner demons, which are going to seed self-doubt, and ultimately you'll find there's chaos in your life, you're spinning in circles, you don't know what to focus on. That was the story of my life as a freelancer, trying to work with clients, trying to operate my marketing agency, which ultimately didn't work. But it's something that I invested heavily in terms of time, energy, effort, resources, money. I spent the best part of a year, maybe two, trying to clarify what I want in life, why I was doing what I was doing, clarity on my why, clarity on the meaning. Clarity on meaning, clarity on why I was doing what I was doing in business, and a whole bunch of other things too. I invested in coaches to help me try to uncover why. Just couldn't do it, and I just couldn't find the meaning in my own life. So why? Well, I think the reason is because first of all, I did not have any kind of a solid anchor, a solid foundation to base my identity in. This was as an atheist, materialist, pursuing materialist, consumerist kind of goals. Wanted to make more money, being transactional and all other kinds of things. I'm trying to create a vision which aligns with who I am as a person, but there's nothing solid to anchor it in. And if you don't have anything solid to anchor it in, it means it's going to change. It's sort of like you imagine an aeroplane. If I'm flying from London to Singapore, for example, which would be 14 hours on the flight, the goal of the flight departing London is to reach Singapore. But if the destination kept changing, you might fly halfway across the world and then the destination changes somewhere else and the plane has to go here and the plane has to go there, and well, eventually the plane's going to run out of fuel and then all kinds of problems happen with that. Maybe it's not exactly the best analogy. I think I think what I'm trying to say using that analogy there is that if you have Singapore as the destination from London, you need to be focused on your destination so that as the plane flies and the natural movement of the air and atmosphere in the sky and all of the other things as well is going to slightly move the flight off its target, and then the pilots are then allowed to make the incremental changes in their navigation so that they remain focused on hitting their target destination, which would be Singapore. Whereas if they don't have that target destination of Singapore, the atmosphere and the winds and all of the things in the sky as the plane is flying is going to naturally slowly move the plane off target by a tiny fraction of a percentage, and then this tiny fraction of a percentage is going to accumulate and compound over the duration of the flight, which means that the flight is not going to land at Changi Airport in Singapore. It's going to fly somewhere off and run out of fuel. The point being is that in that analogy, the number one anchor is the destination, which is Singapore, and then it allows the pilot, or in our case here, ourselves, to then identify when we're going off track and then recalibrate so we're moving towards that solid, unchangeable destination. That's what I lacked. I didn't have that solid, unchangeable destination. My destination changed. My highest order anchor in life, which would form my identity as a person and my identity in the business, kept changing. And therefore, it kept moving. How could I possibly anchor myself today to this goal over here if the foundations of this goal keep changing? It means that everything is subject to my own subjective experience is going to dictate and determine and influence where we go and what we do. My own emotions in the present moment, I'm going to influence what I want and where I'm going. And ultimately, you're not going to have a final destination to go to because it's not anchored to anything. So the first step is to clarify who you are as a person, clarify your identity, and to anchor that in something solid and unchanging. So for me, when I accepted Christ and became a Christian, instantly over the space of a short period of time of doing my due diligence and research and figuring things out, I went from having no meaning in everything I do to having meaning in everything I do. So I now anchor my identity in becoming Christ-like. Why? To become Christ-like is to aim at the infinite, the perfect, and the eternal. It's based on the solid, eternal, biblical truths, which are unchanging. It's built on the solid foundation. And if you anchor that, where your identity is in that, you kind of know where you're going. And that's the first step. You have to anchor something in something solid. You have to say, based on the parable in the Bible, that you have to build your house on solid rock and not on sand. Because when the storm comes, the house on solid rock is going to stand. The house built on sand is going to be washed away. That's where you first need to have that solid anchor in who you are, your identity. It's easy for Christians. For non-Christians, it's a bit difficult, but I'm not going to talk about that here. And so you need this solid foundation first to know who you are, what you stand for, where you're going in life, before you can then craft your vision. And then you need to be able to craft your vision based on the identity of who you are. And so, as Jordan Peterson says, that if you have a vague problem, you cannot have a transformation. You want to say that you want to have more meaning and purpose in your life, well that's vague. It lacks the specificity. So how can you expect to have a transformation if you don't know what you're aiming towards? Again, this is the same as with the airplane having that destination in mind. So the pilots can make the incremental changes and pivots and recalibrate where they're going. So the natural things that knock them off guard, off route, they get instantly realigned back. And so if you have a vague problem, how do you define it? So you can have that transformation. Well, you first need to add specificity to it. You need to, what I'm trying to say is that if you have a vague problem, you need to clarify, and that's the hardest part. You have to get clarity on what exactly the problem is. The more specific you are, the more equipped you are to find a solution, and then you, by pursuing that solution, you have the transformation. And that's exactly the same when it comes to your vision. You first need to specify what the vision is, you specify what your identity is, and then you can craft your vision based on that. And so what does that mean? So it first mean that you want more meaning and purpose in your life. Is a vague problem, I have to specify that. So for me, it was I want more meaning and purpose in my business, so I actually have a reason to wake up early in the morning and to pursue this in a way where I feel passionate each day. Well, okay, so how do I do that? Again, it's pretty vague. You have to get more clarity. Well, it's going to be, in order to achieve what I want to achieve, I need some kind of a daily habit, which I was struggling to stick to, so that I do make these incremental progresses each day. So there's intrinsic meaning in what I do on a day-to-day basis, and so I can specify exactly what I want to achieve. Okay, so how do I do that? Well, first of all, I've got to have some kind of clarity on what my identity is. And for me, I can say this now in hindsight, I thought I had an identity, but I certainly didn't, because it wasn't anchored in, the eternal, rock solid foundation thing. And so I did. I anchored my identity in Christ, and then my vision and my purpose became relatively clearer. And then it becomes clear because you can anchor, if you anchor your identity in Christ first, you can then anchor your life vision in becoming Christ-like. And then, what that means to you and what that means to me may be very different. For Christians, we want to, the commission that we've been given, which should be to spread the good news, spread the gospel to people, and to behave in a certain way, and the various things like that. You can anchor your life vision in what that means. You can very easily define what it means from a Christian perspective, and that then becomes your big picture vision. You have clarified it. You've clarified your vision by root basing your identity, your vision in your Christian identity, and then your vision is underneath that. And then what comes below that would be your business vision, your life vision, whatever it is. In this context, we'll look at the business vision, which would be, what do you want to achieve? What are your goals? What do you want to do? Okay, so you would then align your business vision with your Christian vision as well, which would then make sure that you're aligned with your identity. So what that means in practical terms is you would be able to operate your business in a way where you can be the biggest blessing to as many people as possible on a day-to-day basis. You can set that as your goal, as your target, as your aim. You can have a core value where you want to act out of extravagant love. You want to pursue excellence in whatever you do, so you can serve people to the best of your ability. You want to have humble service. You want to have integrity in everything you do. But the only way that you can have integrity is to anchor your identity first in what it means to become Christ-like, so that you have that solid rock, so you don't move away and you're not inconsistent with things. And then you can take that big picture vision, and then you can bring it all the way down to could be a 3-year goal, a 1-year goal, a 90-day quarterly goal, a month-to-month goal, week-to-week goal, day-to-day goal. And then you can adopt and practice a daily habit in your business of operating on your operating in a way that moves you towards becoming Christ-like through extravagant love, pursuit of excellence, integrity, and humble service, and anything else that you want to do as well. You can then proactively make the decision to do that in everyday interactions. Every small decision you do, you're going to proactively act in a way that's Christ-like. And that is what then that you're anchored in that solid foundation that's never going to move, never going to change. And then every single decision that you make is one step closer, one step closer, one step closer, one step closer. And by doing that, you are getting clarity in what your identity is, crystal clear clarity, so you know exactly what your destination is, what you want to achieve, what you want to aim for, what you want to move towards. You're getting clarity in what your vision in life is as a Christian. Again, that's quite easy to define. You then root and anchor your business vision and your business identity in what it means to be Christian. So then you're getting clarity on the way that you want to operate your business in a way that aligns with your identity as a Christian, and that's rooted on solid foundation too. And then you bring this business vision that's way up here all the way down to the smallest unit of time, which is your day-to-day visions, and then you know exactly how you need to act so that you're acting in alignment with your business vision. And by doing this, this is how you clarify, and this is how you're then going to find meaning in everything you do. It's how you're going to be making meaningful progress towards your goals and what you set out to achieve on a day-to-day basis. It's how you know you're actually making meaningful goals, even if your external situation, you're not hitting this month's KPIs. Well, you know you're making meaningful progress. You don't allow your day-to-day emotions to cloud things and shade things and, you know, pull you in different directions based on different whims and all of this stuff. You have a clear direction of where you're going, and it just makes everything so much easier. You know where you're going, you know what your next step is, because without this, you're spinning in circles. You're chasing goals, but the goalposts keep moving. You know, this is what leads to burnout. It means that you put in so much time, energy, effort, resources into doing a task, but you don't know if that task is going to pay off, or if it has intrinsic meaning, or if you're spinning in circles, and as a result of that, you become more risk averse to doing it. You don't, you know, you have analysis paralysis, you're a bit concerned and scared to commit to making decisions. You know, it's just chaos. Clarifying your vision in the way that I've just told you, anchor your identity in Christ, define what your life mission is as a Christian, in your identity, base your business vision on that, and then pursue Christ likeness in everything you do, in your day-to-day decisions. You can't exactly go wrong. If any of this resonates with you, this is basically the process that I've uncovered for myself in my own search for meaning and purpose. It's worked for me. Over 8 months or so of actually building this framework after becoming a Christian, whereas before this it was years of not really knowing or understanding. My own processing journeys probably include about 1,000 hours, probably more realistically, and I'm not being hyperbolic or anything. That I'm very happy to spend 3, 4, 5, 6 hours a day studying, learning, whether it's reading things, listening to podcasts, audio books, reading, you know, reflecting on things, talking about things, journaling, all these things. You know, it's all the time for me. It's what I do for fun. I've created several worksheets, several activities that I've done myself. Some worked for me, some helped me clarify certain things. You know, kind of like in order for me to enact this vision that I'm now setting myself. What kind of a person do I need to become in order to successfully do this? So these are things that we factor in. Well, that's a good thing to do, but it's not exactly as important as clarifying what your core values are and all of this. So on the dozens of worksheets I've done and activities I've created for myself, and the dozens and dozens of hours I've put into journaling and reflecting, I can quite confidently identify what worked best for me, what is a good thing to have but not necessarily the most important. And I'm trying to put this into like a 6-week program where I can help other people, in particular Christian entrepreneurs who may experience a similar thing that I have in the past, where you go from chasing money but it just doesn't, there's no meaning in it. You want to actually find meaning and purpose in the work that you do. For me, I want to start off by helping Christian entrepreneurs that have an established business with a high ticket offer. And the reason for that is because I sold my own high ticket offer for several years, probably 7 years in total. And then my speciality was helping clients sell their high ticket offers. So I have the background and confidence and, the skills and the knowledge of pursuing how to sell high ticket offers with personal experience in me and with clients in different industries. So it means I can actually help you a bit more directly than other people. If any of that resonates with you, I want you to reach out to me, and then we can talk. That's all I've got for you. See you in the next video.